Welcome to Sports Central. I'm Taylor Hanzel.
And I'm Caleb Okes. We're here to present sports news to you.
In the sports world, rehab is a process that an amateur fan would not know very well. Let's head to Leighton's story to hear more about it.
Rehabilitation is something that not a lot of people understand to its full extent. Many people understand that it is something to do with injuries and that it's sometimes a long process. But the purpose of this video is to look at rehabilitation with the people who have gone through it and to understand it better.
It's hard. It takes time, and people think, oh, you just have to rehab, but it's actually hard work. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
So we talked to some of the guys who have gone through rehab, and here's what they had to say.
But the whole process of the rehab, I don't know, it was sort of comforting, knowing that, I don't know, like, my head felt fragile, but, like, it just felt comforting, being able to, I guess, be honest and not have to fake anything. And eventually, it let up a lot, and I'm back playing, thank goodness.
I wasn't expecting the mental toll that it takes. Like, obviously, it's the physical toll of doing ankle exercises every day for 9 months, pretty much. But just sometimes the thought of even going to rehab is a lot. Just because you're not where you want to be, and it makes you realize that you can't play the sport that you love. So.
Just wanted to let athletic trainers and those who go through rehab to know that they're appreciated and that their work does not go unnoticed, and that, it's really cool what they do. This is Leighton's story reporting for Sports Central.
Thanks for that wonderful insight, Leighton. Fans now have a better knowledge on what goes on day in and day out during rehab. This rehab can apply for beginners, college athletes, and even the pros.
On the topic of college athletes, typically when a student commits to a university, they believe that they will have a chance to play at their sport for at least 4 eligible years.
But what happens when the programs are cut from the school mid-year? Here is Taylor Hanzel with the story.
Traditionally, an NCAA student-athlete has 5 years to play 4 seasons of their sport. But what happens when their program is cut from the school mid-eligibility? Many find their lives upended, distraught having to rearrange their educational and athletic goals. Take, for example, the women's and men's golf and tennis teams of Southern Wesleyan University.
Upset, really angry. I felt more sadness for everyone that was, like, all my friends. I felt so bad for them.
Some were angry, some were sad. I was more on the angry part, said a few things I probably shouldn't have said.
In December of 2021, school athletes were told that they would be cutting these programs by the 2023 school year due to financial problems.
Well, when they told us, they called a meeting with AD Reiniga and Dr. Confer, and they both came in and told us about the president's decision and the board's decision to cut.
When we first heard about it, I was like bawling. Like, he told us, and everyone was kind of like tearing up about it. Everyone was really sad. And then I just went back to my room and I just cried because I was just like so shook.
After this decision was made, many of these Sioux athletes found themselves having to make a difficult decision themselves, to transfer or to not.
I called my parents and I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, they said we could stay, but I don't know if I should leave.
Regardless of whether an athlete chooses to stay or transfer, they still find that they are forced to pick an option they did not want. Usually the situation is handled poorly, and most wish to at least have given the chance to save their programs. Alas, they instead find themselves uncertain, left in the dust, and stuck having to choose between their school or their sport.
The interim president didn't even come to our meeting, didn't go to the tennis meeting either, which showed a lot about his character, if you ask me. And I don't believe you can leave your college players with a feeling of uncertainty like that. Like a safe environment that you don't expect to be taken away. It was.
I'm Taylor Hanzel, reporting for Sports Central.
Thanks, Taylor. Sports can be a gateway for students to grow, interact, and even learn from.
All these things change when they are suddenly taken away. Students can be affected physically and even emotionally, which can give a big hit to your mental health.
Mental health has become a serious issue for some people in recent decades. We have Caleb Okes reporting on the story.
In recent years, more and more talk has surfaced about athletes having mental health issues. These issues have also taken over college sports.
According to Christie Campus's research, 1 in 12 college athletes reported constantly or almost every day feeling so depressed that it had been difficult to function, while 60% of men and 55% of women indicated that they were not aware of how they could access mental health support in their current location. Senior college athletes reported a sense of loss, which was 1.5 times the rate of underclassmen.
There definitely is a stigma with mental health in athletics. We're supposed to be like the tough guys that have it all together, and we're not allowed to struggle, and that's just not true. It is hard to ask for help like that. It's not just a one-time decision either. You will have to ask for help over and over and over, and it sucks. It requires a lot out of you, but you don't want to stay unhealthy forever. Just like if you were physically sick, you wouldn't stay sick forever. You would want to take medicine and get better.
Thankfully for college athletes, they have better access to support from counselors and their coaches.
You got to be very close with all of your players so you can read them and then see, the consistencies. And then how much of it is normal, because some of these kids need to be reminded that, hey, grin and bear it, man. Get up, walk it off. This is okay. This is part of life. This is life skills. Not everything's going to be peachy keen, But sometimes you can't just assume that that's the case. We've got to, take every situation serious. Be around people that are going to help you and love you and care for you. I mean, life's too valuable and precious. Mess around with those other things.
I'm Caleb Okes reporting for MC Swoop.
Thanks, Caleb. Still ahead, we have a variety of news in the form of culture, technology, and the well-being of others.
But before that, we'll be right back after this short break.
This is what winners are made of. This is what leaders are made of. This is what scholars are made of. This is what believers are made of. This is what warriors are made of.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your short break. Even though many love the sports world, everything is not always positive and healthy.
There are several risk factors when it comes to playing sports, and one of the main risks is CTE. Here's Britton Owens reporting on the issue.
Over the past several years, the number of college athletes who sustain concussions has been on the rise. This has led to the concussion epidemic that we see today in college athletics. A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury, or TBI, caused by a bump, blow, or jolt to the head, or by a hit to the body that causes the head and brain to move rapidly back and forth. This sudden movement can cause the brain to bounce around or twist in the skull, creating chemical changes in the brain. According to the University of Michigan School of Medicine, about 3.8 million concussions occur each year in the U.S. from sports-related injuries. Many of these cases go unreported and undiagnosed, which results in a premature return to play. Returning to play too soon can put the athlete at extreme danger for re-injury. Research from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. I recently had a chance to sit down with some SWOO athletes to hear about their experiences with CTE.
I had 1 mild concussion in high school. I went to go get a ball. I was playing volleyball, and this girl kicked me in the back of the head. The only symptom I suffered with was it was just hard to get up in the morning.
I think that concussions are a problem in collegiate athletics because several athletes get many concussions during their course of playing their sport, and I know several people that have sustained 5 or 6 concussions and have been asked to medically retire from their sport.
This is a deep dive into the world of the concussion epidemic. For Sports Central, I'm Britton Owens.
Thank you, Britton. CTE can be caused by a variety of sports and even intimate violence.
Sexual assault within sports is a huge issue, and it happens more often than we may think. Here's Rihanna Elrod reporting on the issue.
Sexual assault is a major issue in general, and it occurs far more often than people are willing to admit. Athletes are beginning to speak out about it.
There's definitely that guilt for people that go through that of either I should have been more aware, or they feel like they're not in that position to say anything because they won't be believed, they can't afford to lose their scholarship. Like, what will people think? It'll be my word against them. And I've seen that firsthand on a lot of people I knew.
People are definitely aware that this is an issue because there are definite guidelines given to school systems and to coaches to help deal with problems like this.
I think this is a huge issue. People are more aware of it. There have been more documentaries made out of it. We have the documentary Athlete A, which was the gymnastics scandal a few years ago. I'm not sure people realize how common it is. Once you hit that high school area, you're expecting the young adult to know better than to allow themselves to be put into this situation. And then at a college level, it's kind of the same thing, but it isn't as recognized.
Part of it is initial screening of coaches, because a lot of what the sexual misconduct or sexual assault is between coach and player. I've heard multiple stories on this. The coach giving things like pornography and stuff like that to their players to make them more aggressive and more able to not care about the other person and just less compassionate in general. And I think that's very detrimental to anybody's health.
One, it's not just female that experience these issues, it's also males, and that has a huge stereotype behind it. People don't like admitting that it could happen to anyone. For me, the biggest step is everyone becoming aware and knowing that this is something that can happen, but it's also something that can be dealt with. Having stricter policies on this, I've heard programs using chaperones when having any sort of interaction between opposite sex coaches or doctors or anything like that.
Thanks for the report, Rihanna.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short commercial.
Hopping back in, we'll head to a story on the different nutritions for lifters.
Here's Mark Picklesheimer with a story.
Hi, my name is Ashley Somerville. I'm a competitive power lifter. I lift for a couple different reasons. The main ones are that I really like the idea of gaining strength. It's also a male-dominated sport, so being a female in that area is kind of cool, and I think it's very empowering. It's definitely helped me gain confidence over the time that I've been doing it. And I love to be able to share that with others. Some of the foods that I eat, my diet consists mainly of high protein and high carbs. Carbs definitely help me fuel and give myself the energy in order to lift the weights that I need to be lifting. Like egg whites, I eat a lot of chicken and rice. I eat a lot of protein shakes, a lot of smoothies. As far as carbs go, I like rice, I like vegetables, fruits, things like that. Some quick carbs would be things like applesauce is really good. I eat that a lot, kind of. You'll also see in the powerlifting world, a lot of people will use like gummy bears or Swedish fish or something that's like sugary like that in between lifting. And so it takes your body a little bit more energy to process fats and proteins. And so on meet day, I want all of my energy to be going into at powerlifting meets. You'll see things like rice and those quick carbs. Sweet potatoes are another good one. You'll also see a lot of people eating and drinking a lot of energy drinks, as well as things like Pop-Tarts and candies are quick carbs. But obviously that's not ideal for an everyday lifestyle. But on meet day, things like that are pretty common.
Hello, my name is David Picklesheimer. I guess first of all, why I lift is to make sure that as I get older, I can still do the things that I want to do. As far as my diet for lifting, I of course look at calories depending on if I'm trying to gain more or lose weight. And I usually do macros. So about 40% carbs, about 40% protein, and 20% fats. And use that to balance it out. I usually don't eat before I lift, but after I lift I usually make sure I get protein into me.
Hey, my name is Zach. I play 3 different sports, football, basketball, and track. During the summer, whenever I have 7-on-7 for football, we usually get protein from the football program before and after practices. And then whenever I'm not doing football, I usually eat peanut butter sandwiches, turkey sandwiches. And then vegetables I eat is carrots, corn.
Thanks, Mark. It seems difficult to keep up with the diet of a bodybuilder.
Between meal prep, practicing, and actually competing, it definitely isn't for the faint of heart. Enes Kanter is giving up a lot by sticking up for his culture and his beliefs.
Kanter has been caught in a web between a variety of groups and must battle for his stance. Here's my Sherry Anawarzike with the story.
Enes Kanter Freedom is an American professional basketball player. He currently plays as center for the Celtics.
Very lucky and blessed to be in a country like America where there's human rights. And obviously America having her own problems, but change can only happen in America with freedom of speech. And without freedom, you cannot do anything.
What's possible when athletes speak.
Kanter Freedom is getting the word out there while he's introduced in different news broadcasts and trying to help the world see how bad China's President Xi Jinping is, along with Nike and Nike's leading sponsor, LeBron James. He's trying to understand that what they're doing is wrong and trying to help the world understand that as well. He's not going to stop until he gets his freedom for his people.
Kanter Freedom is fighting so hard for the freedom of speech, for freedom of his people and himself. He's giving up so much right now, but that doesn't matter. He's looked up as a hero, as an influencer by many people. Here's what they have to say about that.
Kanter Freedom has the right of freedom of speech, and if he believes this is what's right and to support his Muslim community, then he has a right to speak out. And sometimes in life, even though it might affect you, such as losing a scholarship, for him it would be a sponsorship. If it's what's for the greater good, then it has to be done.
I really admire Kanter Freedom and his willingness to take a risk, because it does take risk to stand up for something that's true and right and good. It takes courage, it takes conviction, compassion.
Kanter Freedom is putting it all on the line, even for his career, just for the sake of his people. He sees that terrorism and child labor laws and all the bad things China is doing to his people is not good. You shouldn't be a slave to nobody.
So here's how I think about it as it's kind of the same, similar to us as black people, especially back then growing up. We're mad that a lot of people, a lot of events happen around the world and not a lot of people or enough people speak up about it and actually want to do something about it. Most people want things to change, but don't take the actions for change, and that's how Enes Kanter feel. His Turkish people, they being mistreated and all that, and he's mad because nobody's speaking up or wanting to do anything about it. So that's how I feel about it.
Hopefully, good things ahead for this guy. This is my Sherry Owens-Rique reporting for Sioux Central TV.
Thank you, my Sherry, for that story.
Kanter stood up for what he believed in and for his culture. Team culture is the expression of a team's values, attitudes, and goals about sports, competition, and relationships.
Every team can accomplish the untouchable with this in mind. Here's Yale Averici for the story on team culture.
Within the area of sports requiring a team to play, it's important for the team to have a good chemistry. How can an individual player influence team culture?
Culture is it's almost like a shared passion between the entire team, the shared passion to get to a certain place or to support each other through it all.
As a lacrosse player, I understand it's not only my duty to influence team culture, but also my coaches. Let's see how coaches influence team culture.
You play to the level of your competition. So if you're constantly practicing against good and not so good players, one side's going to win out. The good is either going to improve the bad, or the bad is going to bring down the good.
Thing to do as a coach, because you're driven and you want to succeed, and you've got to check that all the time. Asking the Lord to keep you humble and to make sure that, because it's hard. Because we want to be great, we want to be those things. You want that athlete to succeed, and how are you going to respond when they don't? Because nobody does it on purpose, right? But it happens.
Reporting for Sports Central, this is Yael Echeverria.
Thanks, Yale. We'll be right back after this message.
Hi, I'm Madeline Barrett. I am a Southern Wesleyan graduate, class of 2021. I majored in media communication in a concentration of public relation. I am currently at the reserves at Lake QE here at the sales office. I work with Coldwell Banker Kane. This original position was part-time, and then my supervisor saw my resume and saw all of the things that I've done at Southern Wesleyan, including hosting a number of talk shows, creating an Instagram account for our communications department, and she thought, wow, you just have blown me away with all of these amazing things you've been a part of, and I want to offer you a full-time position here. Southern Wesleyan invested in me, and I got a return on my investment.
We're glad you're back. Our last section will be centered around the integration of technology in the sports world. First up is home field advantage.
Is home field advantage still real, or is it going extinct from advances in technology? Here's Grace Williams reporting on the story.
Home field advantage is known to most as a psychological event that can impact the way a game ends. There is a lot of debate on if this theory is real or not, and not a lot of ways it can be proved. The only way to know for sure is to investigate the minds of athletes and coaches to get a first-hand account of their own personal experiences, and let you decide for yourself. There are a lot of factors that can play into home field advantage, like weather, climate, travel time, and field conditions of the away team.
For cross country, definitely, because you're running on a course, you're going over terrain, you're running up hills, down hills, that kind of thing. And being able to run a race on the same course that you train on every day plays a huge advantage, especially when you know when a hill's coming, you know when to expect to slow down and speed up. But for track, I don't think it really makes a difference because it's flat. It's the same everywhere.
Competing somewhere the athlete is unfamiliar with can put the idea in their head that they are not ready or will not perform as well as they normally do. Outside conditions play a huge role, and coaches are normally the first to notice the change in attitude in their players.
Weather conditions sometimes affect different fields in different ways. We know how our field's affected by the weather conditions, so it definitely is a home field advantage for sure. It's a disadvantage when we're going away. I remember plenty of times going on a game where we're playing on a turf field. Away, and we're not used to it. We have a home field that's grass, so we don't get a chance to play on turf, and the game is completely different on turf. Yeah, I would say it's mostly an advantage most of the time. I haven't even mentioned things like fans in the school and so the support that you get from the other students and parents being able to come to the school to watch games. So even that, I would say it's almost always an advantage to play at home.
Whether or not you believe home field advantage is real or a made-up intimidation tactic, it is hard to ignore the first-hand accounts of athletes and coaches who have experienced it. You will get various answers across the board on this subject, which is why it is such a hard theory to prove, especially with all the rules and regulations that make it seemingly impossible to have the upper hand, even if you are the home team. This is Grace Williams for Sports Central.
Thanks, Grace. It's interesting to see how technology can affect the sports world. Another way technology can affect athletes is through virtual reality.
Virtual reality has become one of the newest fads, especially when it comes to sports. Athletes all over the world are using virtual reality to train. Here's Faith Ray with the story.
For decades, two of the things that constantly keep evolving are sports and technology, and now more than ever, they're being combined.
To become a truly great athlete in any sport, the key is repetitions, repetitions, and repetitions. But factors such as team setup and availability, rules, the physical toll on one's body, or even inclement weather conditions can make it hard to get those reps in each day. A virtual reality sports environment lets athletes accelerate their training regimen even on the road. This gives them the chance to run unlimited reps in the most realistic environment possible so they can be ready to perform at their absolute best when it truly matters. Virtual reality gets as close as it can to simulative live game moments. Athletes can improve their decision-making abilities, their reaction times, their task switching, their visual speed of process, and much more.
As a former athlete playing college football in the 1990s, VR would have been a very beneficial tool for us to use.
I'd never really seen it anywhere before, but I think it'd be a really cool asset. I think it'd be really helpful.
Since this is a newer idea, younger and present college or professional athletes are going to be the ones to benefit from this.
I'm Faith Ray reporting for Sports Central.
Thank you, Faith, for that story. It's been interesting to see a wide variety of stories between virtual reality, bodybuilding, and home field advantage.
There's definitely a lot of substance in all of those stories, but next time I hope that we can include some about soccer, which is my personal favorite sport. So.
Agreed. You have just heard the latest from sports news. Thank you for being with us. I'm Taylor Hanzel.
And I'm Caleb Okes. Be sure to tune in to the next broadcast of Sports Central. Have a wonderful day.